Obviously, at the end of every year, you get every single person that talks about movies on YouTube's top 10 list. But one of my favorite things about movies is how your opinion of them can change with time. Even after a short period of time, I looked back on last year and found that my opinion had changed about a few movies, and I just generally had seen more. So I thought today it might be fun to do a revised top 10 movies of 2021 list and see where things stood now. Have things that I hadn't seen before moved into the top 10, have things moved down, have things moved up. I'm going to be discussing all of that today. But first off, I want to address the movies that actually dropped out of my top 10, and there were 3 of them. There were King Richard, West Side Story, and Belfast. Now, Belfast was number 10 on the original list, and I think just with time I can recognize that it's a good movie. It's fun to watch, but I'm not looking back on it like it was a cinematic masterpiece or anything. Like, it's a really good coming-of-age movie. I can say nothing but nice things about it. It had really good performances, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's a top 10 movie, at least not for me. And then West Side Story dropped out of the list from number 8. Now, it is a very well-made movie. That hasn't changed in my opinion, but something that I like about musicals is the rewatchability of them. And since last year, I just haven't felt the need to rewatch West Side Story, really. And then the biggest drop is King Richard. That was actually number 3 on my original list. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to mention the slap at the Oscars, but that really did impact how I watch the movie now. You just can't get around the fact that Will Smith won Best Actor for this film, and rightfully so in my opinion. He's fantastic in the movie, but now anytime I watch the movie, I think about that incident at the Oscars whenever he slapped Chris Rock, and I just can't get the stink out of the movie after that. Maybe I'm wrong for that, but I can't deny that that's how I feel about the movie at this point. It's still a great sports movie, and I can see myself rewatching it several times, but for now, it's out of the top 10. Alright, so now it's time for the meat and potatoes. Let's get into my revised top 10 movies of 2021. At number 10, a movie that was previously number 9, Free Guy. This movie is still a ton of fun. I still love Ryan Reynolds in the role. I like the supporting cast. And really, my opinion about this movie hasn't changed too much. It's a fun, rewatchable movie. It's just a matter of there were movies that I had also seen that year that I wasn't even thinking about whenever I made my original top 10, and then another movie that snuck in that just moved this movie down a spot. So nothing new to say here other than there are other movies added to this list, so this dropped. Alright, up next, a movie that wasn't previously on the top 10, The Power of the Dog. And this movie's an interesting case for me because I had seen it whenever I made the original list, and I don't think I fully appreciated the movie until I saw it a second time. It's the sort of movie that saves a lot for the very end, but then the ending changes how you watch the movie the second time around, and I found on my second viewing that this movie is probably a masterpiece. It's super slow, a very slow Western, not a whole lot of action at all, but Benedict Cumberbatch delivers the best performance of his career, and an outstanding supporting cast in Cody Smith-McPhee, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, all nominated for Oscars. Excellent cinematography here, and I just can't deny that this movie, while I had issues with it in my first viewing, that it is a extremely effective movie, and it's sitting now at number 9 10 months later. Then at number 8, I have Spencer, which was formerly number 6 on the original list, and this is a movie that I still really like. I know it's a little divisive for people because it gets very artsy, very weird in parts, but Kristen Stewart, still fantastic in the role. I think she kills it as Princess Diana, and with 10 months, I still very much appreciate what this movie had to say about a person's mental health and telling that from their perspective, and doing it from someone like Princess Diana, I think was very compelling and something that a lot of people could appreciate. This movie dropped 2 spots because while I can acknowledge that it is extremely well made and the performances are very good, primarily Kristen Stewart, it doesn't really surpass that next level like what other movies on this list did for me. And so it's a movie that I can rewatch. It's a movie that I can acknowledge as excellent. I mean, it's number 8 8 here 10 months later, I had to be honest with myself and say that there are just 7 other movies here from 2021 that I liked more. Number 7 is probably going to be a controversial one, but it's Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know why I hadn't thought of this whenever I was making my top 10. I think I was just thinking of it like, oh, this isn't really a new movie, but now 10 months later, it definitely is. It adds so much more context to the original Justice League and tells us Zack Snyder's true story and what he was trying to do with the franchise. Now, if this had gotten a fully theatrical release, there's plenty here that you could have cut. Zack Snyder definitely takes his time here in the 4-hour runtime, but it's something that I can appreciate because it's his true vision for the movie. We are seeing everything that he wanted for this, nothing held back. And I gotta say, it added a lot for me, especially with certain characters like Cyborg, The Flash. I really appreciate what this movie did for the characters, and shout out to Warner Brothers for even making it happen because they absolutely shouldn't have. All it has is reignited the fanboy nation, saying that they want Zack Snyder's DC, and also they just lost money on this movie. It went straight to HBO Max, and they had to pay an extra like $60 million for the visual effects. But it's just incredible that this movie happened. I can appreciate that it exists, and it's number 7 now. Number 6 is a movie that was number 4, and that's The Last Duel. This movie, it's still excellent. Obviously, it's number 6, but I think with time, I don't know what it is about this movie. I think just because it's so difficult to watch that I just don't find myself wanting to rewatch it. The action is really good. The performances are excellent. Jodie Comer is massively underrated here. I really hope that she's the Invisible Woman in the MCU. There's a rumor that it was her, but anyway, yeah, the performances are excellent. I love that we got a movie that took place during this period of human history. I mean, I just don't find myself wanting to rewatch this very often, which doesn't necessarily make a movie bad, but I can say the opposite for others that are on this list, and I inherently like those movies more. And so it just is what it is. It dropped to number 6. I still love it, and yeah, that's all I gotta say about The Last Duel. And then staying steady at number 5 is Shang-Chi. I still go back and watch this movie and see the visual effects, and my jaw just drops. It's stuff that we had never seen in the MCU before and haven't seen since. I mean, it's only been 10 months, but still. But it's just a good superhero movie, a good superhero origin with a fantastic villain, a compelling main character, a funny side character in Awkwafina, and it made me excited with what they're going to do in the future with Shang-Chi. Whenever they decide to drop him in something, I still want to see a sequel sometime soon. I don't know when we're going to get that because they announced that the director of this movie is directing Shang-Chi 2. Whoa, let me try that again. They announced the director of Shang-Chi is directing Shang-Chi 2, but he is also directing, oh my gosh, I need to get through this. He is also directing Avengers Secret Wars, which is coming out in a few years, and I can imagine his hands are full with that, so who knows when we're getting a sequel for this? But my feelings on this movie haven't changed. It's not my favorite superhero movie from last year, but it's perfectly entertaining and just a great time in the movie theater and insanely rewatchable as well. And then jumping from number 7 to number 4 is now Best Picture winner, Coda. I cannot sing this movie's praises enough. I loved it whenever I first saw it, and I love it now. I think I've rewatched it maybe 5 times in the last year. I'm so glad it won Best Picture. Ultimately, it's just a good, heartwarming family story, and it asks the question of when it's time to look out for yourself whenever you've been supporting others for so long, but it's people that you love, so you don't want to tear away from them, and you also want to support them, but you need to do what's right for you. It's perfectly executed. I cannot wait to see what this director does next, and I just found myself falling more in love with this movie the more time has passed. So yeah, it jumps from number 7 to number 4. All right, now the top 3 where things are going to get a little spicy. Number 3 is Spider-Man No Way Home, and that was formerly number 2 on my list from 10 months ago. This is still my favorite Spider-Man movie from the Tom Holland series, and I still love what this movie did in tying together the previous franchises, giving a proper send-off to Tobey and Andrew's characters. I feel like I can say that now since it made so much money in the box office, and it's been 10 months, so whatever. If you hadn't seen it, I just spoiled it for you. But I love what this movie did with those characters. It perfectly wrapped up their storylines. It made people want more from their characters. You know, jury's still out on if they're going to come back at some point. If they don't, I have no issue with that at all, because really what this movie served to do is give us a proper goodbye to them while also progressing the story of Peter. Really, the only reason this movie dropped from number 2 to number 3 is because number 2 was something that wasn't on the list before, because I just didn't think about it whenever I originally made it, and that is Bo Burnham Inside. I have no idea why I didn't think about this whenever I made the original list, but this thing is a masterpiece. Whenever people look back on 2020 and what it meant to so many and what so many people went through, I feel like we can show them this and they'll kind of get a sense of what life was like. Bo Burnham just covers so much here, and ultimately it makes me feel so uncomfortable every time I watch it, but that's good. The way that it makes me feel is just so real and raw. It just brings out these emotions in me that I forget are there sometimes, and I think that's a testament to just the genius of Bo Burnham. He's such a master of his craft. This really is the apex of what he's done so far. I feel like from doing this video, I'm kind of feeding into what he talks about in our culture right now, especially on the internet. So I think the best praise that I can say about this is go watch it, and I'm just going to stop right there. But then number 1 hasn't changed. I still think this movie's a masterpiece, Dune. Whenever we look back decades from now at what significant movies came out in 2021, Dune has got to be at the top of that list. It's one of the best science fiction movies ever made, in my opinion, and what it did visual effects wise still is so outstanding. It went on to win 5 or 6 Academy Awards in March and totally deserved all of them. It adapted a source material that is so grand in scale that nobody really has done it properly up to this point in time. Now, it is an incomplete movie, and they're filming the sequel right now. That comes out next year, but that's really the only criticism I could have for it, other than it's not totally attainable that for people that just want a casual viewing, but I think that's almost an honor for the original author of the book. My feelings on it haven't changed with 10 months' time. I still love this. I've actually rewatched it twice since I went and saw it in the theater twice. So I've seen it 4 times in case you couldn't do math, and it stays there at number 1. So in summary, I had Free Guy at number 10, The Power of the Dog at number 9, Spencer at number 8, number 7 is Zack Snyder's Justice League, number 6, The Last Duel, number 5 is still Shang-Chi, number 4, Coda, 3, Spider-Man No Way Home, number 2, Bo Burnham Inside, and number 1 is still Dune. That's all I got for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you next time.